Institute of Technology and Science. Take your first step toward a future in excellence.
Good afternoon.
Go ahead, ma'am, we can start.
We can start? All right. Oh dear. Good afternoon to all of you who have signed up for this very informative, educative, and hopefully an exciting webinar. We have a panel of distinguished speakers, and we hope all of you who have signed in will make full use of it. So welcome to a webinar on digital transformation of law and how students can adapt to it. This is brought to you by The Hindu and the Hindustan Institute of Technology and Science. So I will very briefly introduce the subject to you and the panelists to you. And I urge you to listen to them, all of you, especially those of you who are planning to go into law, study law, and become lawyers, because they are some of the most eminent voices of law, who are here today. So the whole thing is about how artificial intelligence has become an integral part of our world, and also in leading law firms across the globe. And the panelists here will be able to tell us how much it has altered the functioning of law and legal systems. And of course, now with the COVID-19 pandemic, it has catapulted all of us into a world of virtual relationships, virtual work, virtual professions, whether we like it or not. And we all need to update ourselves and upskill ourselves, for want of a better word, to deal with the situation. So in such a scenario, for those of you young people who are on the threshold of picking new careers, you have to, obviously, you know by now that you have to equip yourself with new skill sets as you go into a post-pandemic brave new world. And those of you who have signed up and who are seriously looking at law as a possible career choice, three cheers to you, because you're in the right place. And our panelists today are perhaps the best people to tell you more about what is happening in the world of law, how it is shaping up, and what to expect in the legal world once the world opens up again, which I hope is very soon. And they will perhaps tell you, how to hone your skills, how to land on your feet, and understand what is required of you as you go out there. So do listen closely. Please do take notes. And at the end of the webinar, you will have a wonderful opportunity to speak to the panelists, direct your questions at them. And it's a great opportunity for you to interact with them. Again, I reiterate, these are some of the leading voices in the world of law, and we are very, very fortunate to have them. So I will give you a brief introduction to the three panelists we have. We have Dr. J. Vincent Komraj, who is Dean School of Law, Hindustan Institute of Technology and Science. And needless to say, he comes with a huge body of experience behind him. He mentors young people like you. He teaches young people like you. And perhaps he is best suited to tell you what you can expect once you go into the study of law. Then we have Yusuf Abdul Karim, Vice President of Emerging Markets Law School Admission Council, and who's joined us all the way from Pennsylvania. And it's about, I think I've just asked artificial intelligence, and it says it's about a few minutes past 6 a.m. in the morning. So good morning to you, Yusuf. And welcome to our panel. And we are so excited to have you here and talk to you here. And I understand that the Law School Admission Council is also focusing on India and envisions and creates growth in the country in the world of law. So perhaps if you have the time, you might want to tell us a little bit more about it and what it means to us as Indians,
Sure.
And then we have Ramanuj Mukherjee, CEO and co-founder of Law Seekho and iPleaders. Welcome, Ramanuj. Very excited to have you. And I know all the young people who are there listening, and you will all be very happy to hear that the iPleaders blog is read by 2 million readers every month. So that is kind of an indication of the kind of impact Ramanuj has with his words and with the kind of work he's doing. He's an educator, and he conducts many upskilling courses, from what I understand. So once again, without much ado, I will hand over the discussion, and I'll hand over the presentation to the panelists. And please do enjoy the session. And as I said, at the end of the session, you are welcome to ask questions of all the three panelists together, individually, whatever you want. So thank you again very much, Yusuf Ramanujan and Dr. Vincent Komraj. And Dr. Komraj will do the honors, and he will start the proceedings. I hand it over to you, Dr. Komraj. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Pankaja Srinivasan, madam. Freelancer and with a rich experience in the field of journalism and moderation. Respected Yusuf Abdul Karim, Vice President of Emerging Markets, who joined from Pennsylvania. Ramanuj Mukherjee, CEO, co-founder, Law Seekho and iPleaders. I'm very much benefited, or I can say that pleased, happy to be with you all today to share some of our opinions relating to the emerging trends in the post-pandemic or during the pandemic era. How does it affect the law and legal education, particular. Necessity is the mother of invention, it says. And I am proud to say that the rich and backup support of the huge infrastructure established by the late founder of Hindustan Institute of Technology and Science, Dr. K.C.G. Varghese, and the support which is rendered in the administration as well as guidance by Dr. Elizabeth Varghese, the Chancellor of this institution, Dr. Anand Jacob Varghese, Pro-Chancellor, and Dr. Ashok Varghese, the Director, and the elite and erudite Dr. Sridhara, the Vice Chancellor, and the versatile genius, I can say, Pro-Vice Chancellor Alexander Jesudas, and all these officials are at the backbone and strength of the emerging, developing School of Law also in Hindustan Institute of Technology and Science. We speak of digital transformation now. In 1980s, one Richard Susskind was doing research in the artificial intelligence, how it could support legal education as well as judicial proceedings. In England, he did it. He wrote 3 books, Online Courts and Future of Justice, The End of Lawyers, Tomorrow's Lawyers. All these have clearly laid down. I was wondering, in 1980s, this man is able to do research on the mode of artificial intelligence supported judicial systems as well as legal education and appreciation of law. And I'm surprised also by the artificial intelligence supported predictability of judgments in USA. That is also, they say that when the inputs are given, the judgments can also be predicted by the artificial intelligence supported tools. But it is completely different from the legal education scenario. Actually, in England, the common law based jurisprudence and this legal education, there was no formal legal education at that time. I read in Law and the Lawyers by Mahatma Gandhi that there was only one exam, that is Latin language exam. There was no exam for the law students. They had to attend only 24 dinners for getting knowledge to the etiquette and sophistication, because law and legal profession is a noble profession. Once they attend these 24 dinners, they would be able to get that sophistication required for a person who can cross the bar to reach near the king to place his pleadings. So they used to say that a person with rich experience of browsing the judgments of the courts in the inner temple, the courts, there the person gets knowledge of law. And once he is proficient enough, he will be called to the bar and he become barristers, attorneys, and solicitors, and now later advocates. Next. The formal legal education has come into place when law colleges, classrooms, and lectures and examinations, and enrollment after the successful examination. We have after enrollment attorneys and solicitors, but there are systemic changes. Now, most of the lawyers feel that it is proper for them to appear in the court, and they are not thinking of non-litigation lawyering right now. But the Constitution of India, there were several rights, the right to represent, right to engage a lawyer for effectively advocating the cause. And the emphasis till then was theoretical knowledge when we studied. Practical knowledge, you have to be a junior to a senior lawyer for at least a few years. Next. So that was actually the legal education. But the legal education has evolved. It has given place to a dynamic modern innovation, and there are several aspects of clinical legal education in the online dispute resolution, alternative dispute resolution, client counseling, online sharing of documents, everything has come to stay. And the internships that the students can take during the legal education period can also, they are able to excel. Pro bono practice in legal aid centers established in law colleges, in School of Law, Hindustan Institute of Technology and Science. Also, we have established a legal aid center so that the students can also involve in their counseling activities, counseling the clients, and they can assist the people in distress. And the clinical education includes the moot court, and there are national and international level moot courts are there, International Law Students Association. Several international moot court competitions are being conducted. Surana and Surana, the international attorneys, are actually collaborators in the education, legal education in the Hindustan School of Law also. They are regularly contributing to mooting development. Next. National law schools have been established thanks to Professor Madhava Menon. New milestones, and with the emphasis on corporate law practice and non-litigation legal practice and multifarious wider scopes have also come into place. Here, the students have to be honed in different skills. The honing of drafting skills and human resource skills have also to be done, apart from the theoretical knowledge that they are getting in the different fields of jurisprudence. And after this emergence of national law schools, better placement opportunities are also there when combined to technology and management. That is also possible. Next. Here, the redefining legal education is required in the new normal perspective due to the pandemic. I said necessity is the mother of invention. We now have to resort to artificial intelligence support in so many matters. That which has been there in USA and UK very many decades back is now become the need of the hour. And the artificial intelligence supported education and legal practice have also come into stage. Online and virtual classes have to be the place, they're taking place in the pandemic era. So many changes have happened. But the globalized scenario and the access to knowledge in digital form have led to synchronized pedagogy, synchronous education. You know, that is the neo-normal perspective that is now emerging. Non-formal education was once there. In England, when there was no classroom lectures and they had to attend 24 dinners. Now a kind of non-formal reversion back is also coming into existence in the field of legal education. Here in the Hindustan School of Law, we have much infrastructure because of the technological support. Many, say about 30 or more departments in the field of engineering is functioning for more than 3 decades. And I was surprised when I joined this institution. The wide language lab, which is established in this institution, can be made use of to hone the skills, communicative skills of the students in the institution. Next. So here we can find the digitalization of teaching and learning outcomes. Earlier, we cherished that classroom atmosphere, one-to-one, face-to-face, but now there is replaced by mobile presence, in the sense the students just switch on their mobile and they are supposed to listen to the lectures given by the teachers, of course, with the support of the PPT presentations. But once upon a time, we were insisting on, even the Bar Council of India was insisting on tapping of smart room class elements and digital boards, PPTs, interactive analysis of online materials and notes. It was insisted by the Bar Council of India once upon a time, has now come to stay. And even the continuous assessment, projects, assignments, presentations, everything tried to supplement and substitute the traditional inertia affecting many of the students in legal education now has to be completely removed. Now, because they can have access to pre-recorded materials, audiovisual aids and lectures in digital form. This now bridge the gap, and the students are fastly emerging to adapt to these techniques and these changes due to this pandemic and digitalization. Next. Bar Council of India had a vision of integrated courses. I must say that these can easily be found. Now, because of need, I can say that Justice Nageshwar Rao recently in a lecture said, in the first year itself, there shall be a paper on computer education, computer science for the students, so that they can learn the know-how, how to use the digital technology that is being offered. And in university and school of law in Hindustan, we can find much support, not only due to the infrastructure on the technical side, but we can get the students having in-depth knowledge that is possible by interaction with the other engineering students and other technology related courses which is being offered. And the faculty also, they can also make use of this technology, and they are enlightening our students in this. Faculty exchanges can be possible. Our law school is exchanging faculty with the engineering courses. Likewise, the engineering department faculty also can come and enlighten the students here to get more impact, more inputs about the technological assistance, everything. In a deemed university, the vision of the Bar Council of India has been realized actually in the maximum level. And now there are the curriculum content also have been completely modified with cyber law, environmental law, international trade, maritime law, forensic science. Now, so many new areas have been introduced. That is a completely modified modules are different from the traditional legal education, which we have already come across in this. Next. We have the infrastructure support. This is very important. And the Justice Nageshwar of the Supreme Court of India, he was mourning the absence of infrastructure support in most of the areas in India because of lack of connectivity, apart from lack of infrastructure in the traditional law schools run by the government and other institutions. But the Hindustan, as well as many deemed universities, they have the required infrastructure to support the students to get all that is required for getting a interdisciplinary atmosphere, as well as wider perspective and multifaceted access to knowledge stores, I can say. There is a digital library access, online journals, books, manuals, and everything is plenty available in the Hindustan School of Law. And the support of the MS teams, which is actually very efficient IT department, is also there in Hindustan. They are supporting. It's almost all the national law schools as well as the deemed to be universities. They are having all these, continuous assessment, online classes, online exams, correspondence. Everything can be done through this efficient IT department, which is supporting the School of Law in Hindustan Institute of Technology and Science. So this, in such a context, students can easily adapt to digital transformation. Next. Apart from that, I wish to just ascertain that the practical orientation and skills of advocacy can be enhanced by muting. Muting is very important in international, but here actually the logistics and travel related things were pulling them down. But in the digitalization or digitized era, this has become easily. There is a university in Hyderabad called Minerva University. They don't have a campus education. One semester they will have in USA, another in UK, another in another country. That type of access to legal education is also possible. The students say that they are able to adapt to such things, and they are doing everything. Even moot court competitions, they are able to take part. And they have the online client counseling. It can easily be done. Legal assistance to the needy people can be done. Those who want to get assistance through other modes, apart from just making or visit to the legal law firms and waiting for a personal interview and things like that, is not at all necessary. alternate dispute resolution, mediation skills, and online dispute resolution also come to stay. Other soft skills also can be developed, and the hybrid system is going to stay beyond the pandemic also. Next. So, when there are better placement opportunities, better employment-oriented education, and when synchronized knowledge, and we know that no machine can replace human mind. We know that. Some students used to say that, no, sir, online classes, we wanted to come and just to see your face and talk to you for some time to get some doubts clarified. You can clarify it online also, but at the same time, that intimacy, that type of proximity in the mind is not there. But at the same time, they are now adapting to the changed situation, and the employment-oriented education and the corporate projects which are having direct link in institutions like Hindustan School of Law and the Hindustan Institute of Technology and Science, the research projects, funding agencies, access and exposure to the law students also. And there is an efficacious placement cell. Many corporate bodies visit the placement cell, and they can also expose their requirement of legal professionals, advocates, and other lawyers. So training support for beginners are also possible. In Hindustan Institute, you have the bridge courses that is being offered to the needy students. And the HR skills are continuously and constant practice and fine tuning is being done. And they facilitate better professionals. So what I say is that there are chances for the students to better equip themselves even in a post-pandemic situation. In legal education, the opportunities are aplenty, and the change of legal education, evolving legal education, but for some deficiencies with regard to connectivity and other things. If this infrastructure is supported, in the future, we are going to have only online international moot court competitions, only online enlightenment in legal education. That is possible. So this is going to be the change, and the students are ready to adapt to it because of the situation. So I'm very much.
If I may interrupt,
yes,
Dr.
please.
Komraj, how is the faculty coping with the changes? Is the faculty also getting trained, or are they also having some kind of a bridge course to bridge the difference between what was and what is going to be?
It is there in the Hindustan Institute of Technology and Science. The faculty, once they come, they are given training by the IT department in properly using this MS Teams and how they are doing it. There are constant training given to the faculty members as well as the students also. So this
particularly
is
now.
Yes,
particularly
now that is being done. So this is actually the vision of the founder of the institute, and the efficient administrators here, the pro-chancellor and the director, they are actually following every detail. The minute details are being followed up every day, we can say. And they know the difficulties of the students coming from different backgrounds. So that is why these bridge courses are introduced. And the teachers also, you know that our earlier generation people, we don't have that access to the technological excellence or even support, the basic things. So when I came there, the MS Teams, I was finding it somewhat difficult. But there is an IT department, and generally, there is a constant interactive sessions with practical training given, how you can do it in a better way with the technological assistance. That is being done. So thank you. It's a pleasure to be with you to share my thoughts. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Komraj. You've given a fairly exhaustive information on what students can expect in a law college. I mean, in any law college, not just in Hindustan. And there are exciting possibilities. And it's good to know that there are so many bridge courses to facilitate them. And just on a lighter note and a completely non-legal context, I'm curious to know those 24 dinners, who hosted them?
That is there in the inner temple. You will find that the legal education is that much. Before going to the first dinner, they would be enlightened in the etiquette. the table
Okay.
manners, they must find out, which fork is to be used, which spoon is to be used, which hand,
All right.
how they have to do. It is actually
All
an
right.
education in sophistication.
Okay. All
Because
right.
it is a
All
noble
right.
profession. Only, when I
Yes,
was
it
enrolled
is.
in the advocate, as bar counsel, they said, Mr. Vincent Kamraj hailed from a noble family. The introducer did not know about my family background, but that is a formal thing because it is a
Okay.
legal profession, it's a noble
Okay.
profession.
Okay. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much. We'll come back to you. Yusuf, we are happy to have you share, your thoughts on the whole process of uh, uh, law and technology. So please do, looking forward to it.
Yeah, so first and foremost, just want to say again, thank you very much for the warm invitation to be party to and part of this conversation about digital transformation and its impact on the, I think, higher education in general, but I think more specifically on law and the legal profession. What we've seen is that the pandemic has essentially kind of expedited the digital transformation that was already in progress on a number of different fronts, right? So whether it be higher education, many sectors, medicine, design, manufacturing, the transition was already underway. So I think that the our colleagues over at Hitch University are both. I think this is a timely conversation and certainly one that students that are both in law school right now, but more importantly, even considering law as a viable career path should be not only sort of learning more about, but also paying very close attention to, quite frankly, right? Because what we are seeing right now is a transition, right, of change in a profession that is very slow to change historically, right? Law, if you think about it from a profession, has been one of the laggards in some way as it relates to evolution and change and the way that it has kind of embraced technology and some of the other aspects of not only just teaching, but collaboration leadership compared to some of the other disciplines like business and even IT for that matter. So again, my name is Yusuf Abdul Kareem. I'm the Vice President for Emerging Markets at the Law School Admission Council. For those of you who don't know, the Law School Admission Council is a nonprofit organization committed to promoting quality access and equity in law and education worldwide by supporting individuals' enrollment journeys and providing preeminent assessment, data, and technology services. We have a very rich and long history of creating a vibrant, supportive ecosystem for not only law colleges, but also law aspirants. And we promote quality, access, and equity in law school admissions. We have a proud legacy of over 75 years of providing products and services to increase access to legal education so that the legal profession can truly reflect the diversity of society and therefore moving us to a more to the promise of equal justice for all. So since 2009, we've had the good fortune of working in India to build the pipeline of justice. We have done so by collaborating with law colleges and law aspirants across the country. During this time, we've had the pleasure to collaborate and work very closely with over 100 different law colleges. We've administered over 50,000 law entrance tests. We have hosted international conferences. We have presented at countless symposiums and webinars. During the pandemic, at the height of it in 2020, we transitioned our traditional paper and pencil tests to a remote online proctored AI-enabled exam so that students can take the test and continue their dream of becoming lawyers, right, in the safety of their home and not have to worry about doing exams in person and therefore putting themselves and their family at risk. I'm also very proud of the fact that we were one of the few national entrance exams last year to be able to administer our exam in that online mode. We have continued that tradition this year in 2021, offering the exams 2 times, which is something that we believe is not only unprecedented, but also kind of disrupting the status quo in legal education to give students more opportunity and choice to gain admission into law school. Last year, or earlier this year rather, we also launched Law Prep, which is a learning platform to help students prepare for law entrance exams that they're taking across the country. And we have also hosted an online moot court competition. We launched several student initiatives to help students discover not only career opportunities in law, but what it truly means to be a lawyer, right? So connecting lawyers to students and students to information. That is something that we will continue to do, as we believe that, and we want students to be able to discover career opportunities in law and start that pathway with us over at Discover Law. So I will kind of leave my introductory remarks there. I'm here, and if people have questions, I'd be more than happy to answer them later on. So moving on to the topic of our discussion, right? So digital transformation and its impact on not only legal education, but also the legal profession. I think what we have seen is that vice chancellors, deans, executives, and C-suites, boards, right, have all kind of centered their conversation, company strategies, corporate strategies around digital transformation, right? And I think that especially now, moving a year into the global pandemic, right, it is something that remains to be at the forefront of everyone's mind, right? So how do we take what we have traditionally done maybe in person and now leverage some of the technologies that Dr. Conraj mentioned to not only effectuate our different strategies, right, whether it be in education, whether it is in business, manufacturing, or IT, but how do we take that to advance what we're trying to do? So, in education, quite frankly, is no different from any of those other sectors, right? And I think that education, though, has the opportunity to benefit tremendously from digital transformation. So, and I'll tell you, I think Dr. Vincent stole some of my thunder in the sense of, I think he did a masterful job of covering the ground in terms of how you guys Hindustan has done by leveraging technology to not only bolster your culture, your courses, but also I think help students get from point A to point B. So I'll elaborate on some of the things that you mentioned, sir, but then also add some new things to the conversation. So I think the biggest impact that I see thus far, quite honestly, centers around like globalization, right? So the idea that we are all global citizens now has never been more of a truer statement, right? So the fact that we're able to connect and transcend geographical bounds and limitations, I think that's allowed us to connect in a way that we have historically been limited, right, and able to do. And not only just connect, but meaningfully connect. So I think on the education front, for example, now we're able to have this conversation. I'm in Pennsylvania, you're in India, right? But then also in different cities across the country, even in India. Right. So whereas before I would have maybe had to have hop on a plane and then we would have to maybe convene in person, right? And then you have some of those other like geographical and potentially even cost barriers that could limit and prevent us from being able to get together, right? I think some of the benefits of technology is that from a cost perspective and from an efficiency perspective, you're able to realize some of that value, right, in a way that we haven't been able to before. So I think that the ability for universities to meaningfully collaborate is something that will carry forward throughout and even beyond, quite frankly, the pandemic. So what we've seen here in the US, for example, is a lot of US law schools and North American law schools, and just I think even broadly and globally are now keen to collaborate in a more meaningful way with not only on the student front, but also from a university perspective as well. So you have things that are happening by way of research collaboration. You have courses that are being taught through faculty exchange programs. So a faculty member at the University of Pennsylvania, for example, could teach a course right at Hindustan and vice versa. I think some of the other things that we will begin to see is not only the proliferation of online courses, but I think what will begin to emerge out of this pandemic is 100% online virtual like schools, right? And I think that so at the secondary level and maybe even at the primary level, you begin to see some of these ed tech companies have entered this space and are offering courses, right, to continue and working with teachers across India to help them educate their students. But on the higher education front, and especially around legal education, we've yet to see that take shape wholly. I think you do have some institutions, but right now they're kind of like on the fringes, if you will, of the broader market. So I do think that over time we'll begin to maybe see perhaps, right, some of the regulations relaxed a bit to provide more choice, more of the hybrid kind of education that we have come to really just rely on during the pandemic, right? So I think the tradition of going to school or going to class in person every single day, every single thing, I think that has definitely changed, right? And especially now that we have proven that we can successfully do so, what we'll begin to see is that things will not go back to the way that they were in the past. So one second, let me turn off my my Outlook. There we go. So now continuing on, um, Dr. Vincent did kind of touch on this, but what I'll say is that from a curriculum and a pedagogical perspective, right, schools are definitely also changing the way that they are not only creating courses, right, but also the way that they are delivering courses, right. So it's one thing I think to be able to teach and leverage the technology, but there's another thing to specifically design your teaching and adopt your teaching style to this interactive digital space, right? And so whereas some teachers were very good in person, learning to adapt to now to this new mode of education is going to both require training for not only for the law faculty, but also even from the student perspective too, that extends beyond just the ability to hop onto Teams or the ability to use Zoom in a constructive manner. So I think that is definitely it's changing the way that we are not only teaching students, but also the way that we are collaborating and networking, right? So during this pandemic, I was very fortunate to take a course over at the India School of Business. And so we had two professors. One professor was in South Africa, the other professor was in London, right? And then we had my batch mates essentially were in India and Dubai and just across the globe, right? So you had this rich sort of interaction and engagement of both learning from the teacher's perspective, but also from the cohort as well, right? And I think that it's experiences like that that students are going to benefit so richly from in this context, right? So stepping outside of that, right, into what we call like the new normal, right? I think that you will continue to see a blended approach to education and how we are able to connect with people, but also as educators and teachers and mentors with our students. So I think that those are going to be some of the lasting impacts and lasting legacies of the pandemic. But so with every benefit, there's also some challenges as well, right? So I think some of the challenges that we have begun to see and are working to mitigate very mightily are barriers to access, right? So technology is something that is great if you have it, but if you don't have access to technology, then you are essentially, and especially if it's the only mode that we have available now in this context, then you are essentially kind of shut out, right? So what are some of the steps that we should be taking both as educators and as a society more broadly to help mitigate that and to make sure that students, no matter where you were situated, right, whether you were in an urban environment, a rural environment, that you have access to both quality tools, right? So computers, laptops, desktops, phones, whatever sort of technology or device that you need to be able to access education so that you aren't, as a result, shut out and left behind during this time in transition to by the digital transformation that we are all experiencing. So I think that that is something that we are very aware of and working mightily to mitigate. I think the other thing is, and now I'll transition from legal education, but onto legal practice. I think as new lawyers are beginning to enter the workspace, right, they need to embrace the most significant wave of change to hit the legal profession, right, in a number of years, and that is digital transformation. Right, so as new lawyers prepare to enter the workforce, they should be ready to apply the legal skills that they have garnered during their law school career, but with a digital mindset, right? And I think that that's where law schools are going to be very, very beneficial, right? And this is, I think, and this kind of touches on the concept of interdisciplinary education, right? So Dr. Vincent mentioned that he is now even collaborating with the engineering department, right, for at the law school. And I think that as students and as lawyers more specifically begin to adopt that continuous improvement, continuous learning, and engineering mindset, it will serve them well as they enter the profession because of this new digital transformation, right? So for example, I think lawyers may quickly find themselves working alongside key algorithms in artificial intelligence to help not only provide speed, but also efficiencies, right? So I think um, with the traditional sort of work that is required from lawyers, right? So if you think about it, it is time consuming stuff, right? Like, so contract review, using technology to help you with those time consuming processes. And I think embracing the cutting edge technology will help deliver business agility, competitive advantage, economic value, and so much more, right? And so what we traditionally, so if you take discovery for an example, right, I think that is something that lawyers spend a lot of time reading and combing through information. So you now have algorithms that will essentially kind of do that in a fraction of the cost, number one, but number two, in a fraction of the time, right? So this will help not only the firm, right? But it will also help you because leadership will perceive the impact and value of the services that you provide to help accelerate and move not only the organization forward, but also their careers forward as well. Right. So I think what the students are listening today in terms of legal practice need to know is that the rise of technology in legal practice is creating a wealth of data, right? So which legal teams and firms are using to make better decisions, right? So gone are the days where you have where you're just kind of making decisions based on like what you perceive to be the legal risk. You now have data and analytics at your side to help inform and improve your ability to make those decisions. I think the other benefit is that automation will also help improve the quality and at the same time reduce the cost, right? Therefore, giving you efficiencies, right, with speed, right? So not only are you making better decisions, you're also able to make them faster in a way that you haven't been able to before, right? And I think that the other benefit of technology is that it will allow us to completely reimagine the way that we're even delivering legal services, interacting with clients, and sort of passing down and implementing justice, right? So I think that what we have seen is that what happens is sort of life doesn't stop during the pandemic. Life adapts during the pandemic, right? Things adjust. So if you are in court, you don't stop. In a country like India, which is the world's largest democracy, you are governed by a set of laws and legislation, right? So that doesn't mean that, you know, when things stop, we stop handing down and implementing and sort of in pursuing justice for our clients. It just means that the way that we go about pursuing and handing and passing out judgments has to change and evolve based on the context, and the circumstances that we find ourselves in, right? So you now have court essentially being transacted either on Zoom or on Teams, right? So you have judgments that are coming down and being delivered. In some cases, you have AI that is working here in the US. People use, in some courts and jurisdictions, they use AI to help decide who's going to get probation, who's going to be able to get out of jail based on, you know, what their sentences were, right? But I think that, it's clear and evident that technology is here to stay. The way that we are using and leveraging technology will shift as it applies to the different contexts and sectors that we find ourselves in, right? But I think what is clear is that where we need to be able to also focus, right, is on access, equity, and diversity, right? Because those are going to begin to play an even more integral and central part of creating these algorithms so that there isn't like bias baked into them, right? So what happens is that, yes, we have an algorithm that will tell you who should be able to get out on bail or what decision needs to be handed down based on the case and the facts, right? But if we aren't careful, people are creating those algorithms. So what happens, we as people have our own set of implicit biases, right? So if we don't check those, what happens is that we create these algorithms with bias kind of baked in, right? So in a lot of ways, you could say that people do this unknowingly, right? So there has to be special care and education given to the people that are working to create these algorithms so that we are ensuring that the justice that is being handed out, the cases that, and the work that we're doing for our clients is equitable and fair across our society that we serve. So thank you so much. I'll leave my comments there, and if people have questions, I'm happy to answer.
Thank you very much, Yusuf. I hope now we no longer have to hear justice delayed is justice denied, and hopefully things will, become, quicker. Delivery of justice is more efficient, as you said, and we seem to look on our entire legal system as something ponderous and laborious and expensive. And the good thing is, I hope all that is reduced. And so thank you very much. That was really very enlightening. And now we'll go over to Ramanuj. Thank you, Ramanuj. And we are looking forward to what you have to tell the young people on what the legal world looks like, up front, since you are actively involved in working with young people in the legal system.
Thank you. Thank you, Pankaja. Thank you all the. I'm muted. Okay.
Yeah.
So, hi, Pankaja. Thank you very much for giving me an opportunity to speak here. And thank you for the previous to this, Dr. Komraj and Yusuf. Thank you so much. Great talks. So I would straight jump into what I think that time is also scarce right now. So what is digital transformation? A lot of law students might wonder about this. And the formal definition is that in business, you use technology to reimagine how products are delivered, how services are delivered, how every function of business is reimagined using digital technology. I have a little expansive definition of digital transformation. That is that the transformation has not happened. We don't even know what is possible to do with this technology, and we are discovering almost every day new applications, new ways of doing things, and things are completely changing, like drastic changes in how the world functions, and massive value is getting unlocked. And I think the legal industry is still really behind most of these things, right? There are breakthrough technologies that have amazing applications, but generally legal profession has been a little slow in adopting those things. I'll tell you a small story. I had this thing about building an online arbitration platform, and I even started one, and I convinced around 2000 SMEs startups to join that platform. And I wanted to evangelize, and I tried talking to Supreme Court judges, I tried talking to some senior advocates about this. And I remember a really interesting conversation I had with a senior advocate. He's from Hyderabad, incidentally. So I wouldn't take any names, but what happened is that I told him that, arbitration can be done online. These are the things which are written in the Arbitration Act. There's no bar. Why it can't be done, etc. You can. So he heard me, and then he said that what a stupid thing you are saying. How will you do cross examination online? Right? It's not possible. Arbit online. It's the dumbest idea I have heard. Fast forward few years, I saw on LinkedIn he has posted that I am doing, like very proudly he has posted that, look, this is my first online arbitration session where I am an arbitrator, and we are doing this online, right? So there was nothing I could have said that day that would have convinced the man. Nothing I would have, but then, when the times changed and he was forced to reimagine how he does his work, and there's no convincing was required at all at that point. And that is something that's happening. I remember there was a time uh, a senior lawyer was doing a course with us, and we had this process that you have to write articles and publish online, okay, because this is very critical for you to, generally the idea in even today in campuses is that you write an article and publish in a peer reviewed journal. The problem with peer-reviewed journal is that nobody reads them, right? So there are other articles written on how many people reads a legal article in a peer-reviewed journal, and the number is in single digits. Okay, and on an average, there may be some articles which are very impactful and a lot of people are reading them. So I have always advised my students that you go and publish it in a blog where it will be widely read. So if you are doing research, you are writing something, it is very highly impactful. It is very useful for people to, even people will benefit from it. Somebody is researching on the same issue, they will Google it. They're not going to go and read it from peer-reviewed journals. So, and this was a huge issue. So I told a lawyer that, you should publish. Why aren't you publishing? She said that what kind of work can be found online, right? What kind of lawyer publishes online articles? I don't want to do this. And this is and people have been dismissive of these things, right? Even I remember my high school teacher, I said he was researching on some certain things. I said, would you like me to check this for you on the internet? And he said that no, real research cannot happen on internet. Anyway, so things have changed. Like people have started realizing that something is possible. But at the same time, we don't really know what is possible. Every day we are discovering. If you think that, okay, we know this is what digital transformation looks like, then you would be mistaken. And what is more exciting is that the students today who are young students, you have an opportunity of defining and designing what it is going to look like a few years down the line. The kind of, the best thing is that the most breakthrough technology, the most breakthrough organizations in the last 10 years have not come from people with PhDs and massive credentials, 20 years of 30 years of experience. No, it has not. It has come from people who are college students, who are curious, who have a fresh look at, who are taking a fresh look at things, who are ready to experiment, who have courage to question how things are. Like when I was young, I was questioning why can't we do arbitration online, right? And there was resistance. That's okay. You will face resistance when you start new things as well, when you question things as well. But I don't think this opportunity, the kind of disruption you can do and the kind of force, the tailwind you have with you, this was not there in previous generations. Today, if you build something, you can build a prototype, you build, I mean, it is not how you are going to cope up with digital transformation. The question is, how will the world cope up with what you are going to do with, like, that is, the world has to figure out how they are going to cope up with you. You don't have to cope up with digital transformation. You guys are digital natives. You are the one who are shaping this, who are making things happen. So I think you need to participate in that. You need to realize that you are not at somebody's mercy. I see too many law students feel that, oh, we don't have any opportunity. Who's going to, nobody is giving us an internship. Nobody is telling us what to do. College is not teaching us practical things. There is too much, expectation of somebody else coming and rescuing you. You need nobody to rescue you. I mean, sure, there's a college, there are so many services for your benefit, but I don't think that is the situation today. The situation is that you have every tool available to you. You have massive way to connect with anyone in the world. When I was young, I wanted to go to, I used to read these books, Harry Potter books, and I used to think that I want to go to Hogwarts and study magic. And now I tell everyone that we all have access to infinite wisdom in the world through the internet. And this is not a joke. We have access to magic. You want to learn magic, you are on internet. You can learn what you want to learn. And it's truly magical. Now, if you want to wait for somebody else to come and show you what to do, then you will be disappointed, because the previous generation, all the tricks up their sleeves do not work today. I'm sorry. You go and talk to the best lawyers who are senior advocates today, they will not be able to guide you as to how you will succeed. You know why? Because they might be able to give you great legal knowledge. They might be able to tell you how to interpret the law and how a judge will react to an argument, but they have no sense of what the reality is today in terms of what kind of competition you face. What is the market like? They don't know. They have built their practice and done great work 20 years back, but now they're sitting on an ivory tower. They don't really know what you are facing. They can't even imagine what you're facing. So if you go to them and you are waiting for seniors to tell you, I'll just give you one single example. 20 years back, one of the critical skill and like a big advantage of a lawyer would be if they read a lot of case law and could memorize the case law. It would be a huge advantage. You know why? Because it was extremely time taking to do research, to go in the library, and if you don't know the case law, to go and find out a specific case law which will make you win the case, you might never find it in the first place. And it may take you 7 days to go through poring over volumes of data before you can find it. Today, and that's why, if Nani Palkhiwala could recite cases from his memory, it was damn impressive that he could just, whatever case law he required, he just remembered it. But today, whatever Nani Palkhiwala could do, an intern with, 1 month of experience of using software can find the same case law in 5 minutes and give you a digest of that. And not only that, judges earlier used to rely on the lawyers arguing before them to give the correct case law. Today, the judge even don't want you to talk about case law. He has done his own research and he has his own clerks who have given him all the research. Now, imagine that you believe in somebody's advice who's telling you that the way to become a good lawyer, in the same way it used to be 20 or 30 years back, is to study extensively case law, and you will become Nani Palkhiwala today or Harish Salve today, is extremely bad advice. but this is something that you have to figure out on your own. The challenge is that you have immense amount of resources before you. There is abundance of information before you. You don't know which one to select. At the same time, you can't rely on somebody to just come and tell you what to do, because this is wild west right now. Everyone is figuring out what works, what doesn't. Okay. So if you want to learn from someone, please learn from someone who has succeeded in the last 2 years, last 6 months. Look at your peers, something they are doing and it's really working. Please learn from it. And look at the forces which are reshaping the world. I keep telling people, like, so many people, at least in India, and Yusuf can tell if this happens in the US also. Everybody wants to work in a big law firm. Everyone wants to work in a certain kind of organization. And there is a mad rush to get that same job. And I don't understand. That is not even a great job. In Indian law firms, in real terms, in the last 15 years, the salary has not really grown. It has only adjusted for inflation. Okay. In 2012, when I joined a big law firm, I was getting 1 lakh rupees salary. Now it is 1.5 lakhs. Now it has been how many years? 10 years. Okay. In 10 years, the inflation in India has been much more. Right. So if there has been a 100% increase or in inflation, in consumer price index, anything, only 50%. So basically in real terms, the salary has decreased from my time till now by 25% in big law firms. It hasn't increased. It has not even kept up with inflation. And not only that, the work has gotten harder and harder. To become a partner in a law firm has gotten harder. But there is somehow a failure to communicate or discover other opportunities. There are great opportunities in technology and law. There are great opportunities in solving real problems. In India, there are so many problems. In the entire legal system is entirely full of problems. And not only that, you can solve problems in many other countries. The whole world is your playground. You can pick up one problem and solve it and build a company worth 100 crores or $1 million is nothing. $100 million you can build just by solving one problem for people, using your legal knowledge, understanding of the legal system. Anything, you name it, like any industry, every industry has a problem. Today, just somebody has created a company which allows entrepreneurs from around the world to set up a US company, okay, US entity. And it is so easy to set up an US entity. I was teaching in a webinar like this, how to register a Delaware Corp, C Corp, S Corp. It doesn't even take 3 hours, 4 hours, 6 hours to learn. Okay, just incorporation. I'm not talking about anything else. There's a startup funded by Y Combinator, which is helping startups from around the world to just register in USA. And it's worth much. It has raised a lot of money and there's such demand for it. Okay. Anybody in India, there are so many problems, businessmen, entrepreneurs, common people who are in jail, people who are, not able to afford their legal fees. There are hundreds of different problems that can be solved by young people if only they will start looking outside this box that I have to get a job in a law firm or I have to go and practice in a court and I have nothing else outside. It is truly a tragedy that we don't have more innovation coming out of campuses, because when you are a law student, you are in a great position, in my opinion, because you don't have to pay. Your living costs are paid for. I started when I was a college student, right? I built a blog. The blog that has 2 million readers a month now. I started it as a law student in my 4th year of law school. Now, why was it so easy to start back then? Because, okay, at least I don't have to worry about my rent. I don't have to worry about what I'm going to eat, right? Those things as a college student usually are taken care of. Maybe somebody else is paying for you if you are lucky. But beyond that, you have the opportunity to really risk-free try out something. And even if you fail, you can always get a job or whatever, and if you have tried a startup, nobody will blame you that why did you do a startup as a college student and fail. The risk is really, really low. Not, but there is another dangerous thing I see. I see a lot of people just starting a startup in the name of, they just create a blog and call it a startup. They just start an Instagram page and call it a startup. Please understand that a startup or disruption, it's not having an office, having business cards, having a website. That is not what it is. You have to find a problem, you have to care about solving the problem, and you have to start solving it. And if you can do it, I think you will be much ahead of digital transformation. Today, it is possible for you to sit in India and work for a startup abroad, because startups need intelligent, driven people who have new ideas to share. You don't, even if you don't have to do a startup of your own, you can work for a startup in the US, you can work for a startup in London or Brazil or wherever. You can actually even work as a remote paralegal, freelance paralegal. There are a lot of students who have money problem. You're not able to afford. Even I was at a time when I was a law student, I could not pay my college fees. My college, I was studying on education loan, and my college suddenly doubled the fee, and NUJ suddenly doubled the fee of my from my second year. And I realized my education loan is going to instead of 5 years, it's going to run out in 2.5 years. And I started earning, and I paid for my own education after that, because my parents couldn't support. But it was really great for me, because when I started earning money, I learned what it is what professionalism is. And when you start working seriously and you start delivering value to other people, you learn how to create value for other people. It is addictive. Very soon you want to scale it, and you want to build a company, and you want to solve it at a larger scale. So college is a great time, it's a magical time, and it's also time for you to do experiments. And if you really care about solving the problems that are out there, because with your fresh young mind and your fresh set of eyes, you can spot more problems than I can, and you will be able to imagine more solutions than I can, or anybody, or the older people can. So you have a great advantage, and I hope that you will take this opportunity, and we are really looking forward to your success. So that's it. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Ramanuju. That was really, really inspiring. You've given the young people and even the older ones a lot to think about. The world is your oyster, as Yusuf said. Ironically, while we are social distancing and physical distancing, we have all come together. And Dr. Vincent said how necessity is the mother of invention. And so all these things which we kept hearing and meant nothing, it all means, it has a wealth of meaning now. So without much ado, I will go out to the questions, because I'm sure there'll be a lot of people wanting to know. Okay, the first one I think is from a worried student who says, how can we focus on our 12th board exam? And for CLAT exam, can you suggest some suggestions for an upcoming law student? Okay, I don't know who
Yeah, they have to be. Yeah, yes, I will take the question.
Yes, sir.
No, actually, there are a lot of centers which are doing the coaching and training the students, for a CLOT exam and other things. But most of the exams are based on the normal expected knowledge that is available in the student. So they can, with confidence, they can face the exam. There is no problem this time. So they can face the exam and come out successful. There won't be any problem, any hurdle in that.
That's reassuring. Puneet Chumbar has a question for Yusuf. Sorry, Yusuf, you were saying something? Sorry.
I was just going to add something real quickly. I think in addition to what Dr. Vincent Kamaraj mentioned, I think that a student that is trying to prepare for the CLAT should actually take the law prep, should go to our website and really take a hard look at law prep, right? Because we focused on some of the elements that a student will need to be successful on the CLAT, right? So for example, their reading comprehension section and also logical reasoning sections as well. And I know that that is a component part of the CLAT exam. So I would highly recommend that students go to our website and we have a free version of law prep that they can take.
So I hope you've made a note of that. That should be of great help. Puneet Chumbar wants to know, Yusuf, when will LSAT India results be out? Abdul
Yeah.
Sir.
I noticed that question, and we are working to get the results out as quickly as we can, obviously. But our plan is to have them out within sometime next week, probably.
Oh, wow. Okay. So you can start biting your nails, all those who are awaiting your results. This question is for Ramanuj from Subramaniam Shankar Ganesh. He says, how will things be in future for a law student who's learning online and doesn't have practical experience? How will he or she get this kind of day-to-day court proceeding experience without going to a law firm or a law school? Will it not be a hindrance? And how does one overcome this?
Okay, so if you want to learn practical knowledge, so it's actually a challenge. I mean, I don't have a quick fix or solution for this. The only thing I can say that even in the past, most law students did not get any practical exposure. They, like Dr. Komraj also said, right? They went for some internships, but just because you are going for an internship does not mean you are getting real exposure. Most of the time, they just give you some files and say, just read this, or give you some case law research to do. Even if you're working in a law firm, the kind of work that interns do and the kind real work is very, very different. Very, very, like there's no connection. Interns are like, I won't say that interns are were getting any practical knowledge. Now, how do you get practical knowledge? There are one way to get it is that if you can find somebody, and unlikely that you will find it someone like this outside your family, literally, like, family or somebody who's really care about you, is going to spend time with you, showing you how to do it and correcting your mistake. It's like, just think of it this way: practical skills of law are no different from, let's say, singing or working out in the gym. And if you have a mentor showing you that, okay, this is how to this is where you are making the mistake, and pushing you to practice in the right direction, you will succeed. Okay. And if you don't have, it is very hard to succeed. Like, is it possible that I will learn to sing watching YouTube videos and would, like, win India? I mean, India has talent, America got talent kind of shows. Sure, it's possible. It's also possible that I can go to the moon, but it's a little hard.
Yeah.
But if I have a coach who's going to guide me, I'm going to practice every day for 1 or 2 hours. I'll practice singing. And I have a coach who's going to correct me and going to tell me where I'm doing it right, where I'm going wrong. That has a massive chance that after 1 year, for sure, I'll be much better than where I am today, right? In 6 months, I'll be better than, there will be growth. Same thing. If I go and work out in the gym 1 hour every day, will you bet that I am going to look better and I'll have more muscles? For sure, right? But that does not happen for most people. And it's not like it was happening before the pandemic. When law firms are open, this was happening. Very few people there's a huge employability problem of law students, right? Law graduates are not getting jobs, and if they're getting jobs, they're getting paid very less, except there are some exceptional organizations which have their inbuilt training capacity, and they are looking just to hire very smart people with raw intelligence. But beyond that, most organizations find it very hard to recruit young lawyers. So they say that no, we'll hire only people with experience. And I run a program for lawyers where we teach them how to grow their practice, and these are people with 10 years, 20 years of experience. The primary concern all of them have: why are you not able to grow your practice? It's because we are not able to find good juniors.
Okay.
Another problem is that if I hire a junior and if I train them, then they leave for better jobs. So why should I train them? I'm not able to train and retain people. This is, if you can go and talk to lawyers across India, even in other countries for that matter. I talk to lawyers from Africa, Philippines, Pakistan, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, everywhere, same story. And even in the US, solo practitioners, small, 8, 10 lawyer organizations, they are preferring to hire lawyers with experience and not fresh lawyers, because the cost of training is high and return of interest is not guaranteed. Forget guaranteed, it's guaranteed that there will be no return on investment.
Okay.
So it has, and there's a very big problem. The law colleges are saying that industry will teach. When you go and go for internships and learn practical skills, because we are here, will teach you all the, all the Socratic method of legal theory and all of that. But when they go to the industry says that, okay, I don't have time to sit and teach you. Like, do you expect me to spend 1 hour a day with you teaching you stuff? At home, I am almost facing divorce because I don't get time for my family. You're telling me to spend 1 hour a day with you to teach you. This is the situation. I'm not joking, right? So, I mean, I wish it was just a joke, but this is a situation, and law students are facing massive challenge. So how you can learn, it's one thing is that it's not as bad as that. Okay, now because of pandemic, suddenly this is happening. Only maybe you are realizing that, okay, this is the situation. And now there is awareness. So awareness is half of the solution. Now you can figure out where you get this practice. Yeah.
So I think that
one just additions, and actually now almost the Supreme Court and the High Court has opened up online hearings and everything that can be accessed by lawyers, and the lawyers who are permitted. So when they have some juniors, they can observe what is going on, how the judges are deciding cases. So even in a pandemic situation, the young students, at least in the 4th year or penultimate year of their education, they can have access to what is going on. They can observe, they can find out, and then the internship is the problem, as Raman said. Yes, internship during pandemic has been affected substantially. That is very much available. But other things, the observation court proceedings, other things can be accessed to, because the virtual windows of knowledge is open for them. Yes.
Yeah, I think that I think a student needs to really focus on looking for programs that have clinical education, clinical aspects, right? So that when you graduate, you were, air quotes, like practice ready, right? But even like if you think that you're practice ready when you get to the profession, there's still like you don't know anything, right? So I think that was it Jim Collins said that you first and foremost want to get smart people on the bus, and then you can decide like what seat to put them in, right? And I think that you do that for a reason, right? Because there's nothing like practical experiential knowledge and learning on the job, right? That on the job training that is so beneficial, right? And I think that you get that by being in the seat, by being able to observe in real time and picking up on some of those cues, right, that you quite frankly cannot get unless you're in the arena, right? So I think that there's a lot of a benefit to that practical clinical experience and knowledge, right? But I think to Ramanuja's point, students today, quite frankly, just need to be very industrious and entrepreneurial in pursuing their career path, right? So, for example, you have LinkedIn, right? How many lawyers can you find on LinkedIn that are working in a specific field that you might be interested in, right? So, for someone like me, if I was a student and there was something that I wanted to know, or a profession, or like my ideal job, I would go to LinkedIn and say, who's that person who's maybe working in that area, right? And I think that there's definitely a lot of value in having both the sort of the fresh perspective and then the sort of more seasoned perspective, right? Because there's wisdom that you get in someone who's maybe been doing it for quite some time, but there's also just practical knowledge based on the context that you get from someone who's been doing it for a shorter period of time, right? Because I think that the context and the circumstances does make a tremendous has a tremendous role in whether you're going to be successful or not in your particular context, right? Because the business situation in the environment is changing, and technology has just expedited that. So what maybe worked even 2 years ago or even 1 year ago, quite honestly, if you look at 2019 and 2021, the strategies are entirely different, right? So the idea that you can even have like a 5-year plan is just rubbish, quite frankly. Right, like you have to be planning to the right here, the right now, because technology it's changing at such a rapid pace that it's almost impossible to plan and forecast.
I mean, taking it up from there, Shashank Mohan wants to ask, well, all of you, Ramanuj, Yusuf, Dr. Vincent, that, talking about the here and now, what are the soft skills that the students, as they are waiting for things to normalize, what are the soft skills that they should start looking at or honing or, skilling? How do they skill themselves at this point in time, in the here and the now? So would you have any advice for them?
Yes, the first skill is drafting.
Drafting. That
is a very important skill for a lawyer, and even for a person who is actually going to be placed in a corporate sector. They will require him to hone the skills of drafting. And second is the communication skill. That we have say in Hindustan, we have the language lab, which assists them to train themselves. And then the syllabus, it's also a model in that way, communicative English, and that is there. So that
okay, so communication is very important. Communication is key.
Very important.
And learning how to draft. Yes. And Ramanuj, would you have any advice for Shashank Mohan, who's asking?
Yeah. What I would suggest is that look for industries which are sunrise industries, okay? And things that are really coming up. So for example, fintech is really booming, right? Telemedicine is booming. You look at things like this and what other things are really growing right now, which will grow 10x in the next 5 years. Those industries, you have massive software as a service, because Indians are ruling software as a service as an industry. Right now, we are controlling 12% of world's all software as a service export, and all software as a service we are controlling right now. And in 10 years, we might be controlling 30% of the world's software as a service market, which is massive. It will be like much bigger than the IT boom that has already happened. And I believe that, just to give a comparison, like software as a service, I mean, Indian legal industry, entire Indian legal industry is smaller than $2 billion. There are multiple single entities in software as a service business, which is bigger than 1 billion. Okay. So as a lawyer, you have much more opportunity in these kind of industries. And if you prepare yourself for really big waves that are coming, like e-commerce is a big trend, right? There are 1 million Shopify stores, all of whom need certain kind of services. So you have to see these kind of opportunities, which is massively growing. Now imagine all the 1 million Shopify stores around the world need data protection services. All of them need vendor agreements. All of them need registration of trademark in multiple countries. All of them they have problems of fake products or false listing on Amazon, or trademark problems on Google. There's a bunch of legal work. And if you understand what the work is and you learn and you prepare yourself around those specific skills, then it's very easy to get work. There's no competition. It's a really great time to be a lawyer if you look at it like that. But if you look at it like, oh, I have learned tort law, or I have learned contract law, now where can I apply this? Or I have learned corporate law, where can I do this? It's harder that way.
Okay. Thank you.
So The only thing that I
Yes.
would add to that is just self-awareness, right? So I think that, a student needs to first and foremost be able to understand like what it is that they are. So there's what you're good at, but then there's also like what you're passionate about and what you enjoy doing. Right. So if there's one, I think, takeaway is that you have to have a high degree of self-awareness, because that isn't something that, and part of that is just emotional intelligence, right? And that isn't something that you're going to pick up from like any law book,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, but it is something that will certainly benefit you as you go deeper into your career. I think that the other thing is just that, there are people that think outside of the box, people that think in the box, and then there are people that think there is no box, right? And so therefore you're creating the vision that you want for yourself and for your life. And I think that for young students today, the world is like your oyster, like that is so true, right? And unlike any other generation, right, the fact that you are digital natives gives you such a tremendous advantage, because you have access literally to any and everything that you want through through the internet, right? So there's this democratization of information that is transformed throughout, right, with in the last generation, right? So unlike any generation prior to this, so you have that. And so what I would do is really just encourage you to use it to your advantage, and not wait for people to tell you what to do, but to more so create the future that you want for yourself.
To complement, everybody should have the passion of learning some new things. That is a very important.
Very true. Very true. Very true. Unfortunately, I think we have to wind up the session. Thank you so much. I mean, there was so much more to learn from you, but I think the main takeaways for the young people who have signed in is, be aware, as Yusuf said, or have the passion, as Dr. Vincent said, or as Ramanuj said, that, there are so many breakthroughs just waiting to happen. And maybe you are the people who are going to go out there and make that happen. And so don't get too burdened with this whole thing of what if not, and what am I going to do, what's going to happen. It is the same world, it is the same human beings, and there are wonderful people like Dr. Vincent, Ramanuj, and Yusuf there. There are many more like them who are just waiting to help you out. So seek that help, think for yourself, and read up. The information is right there for you to go and help yourself to whatever information you want. Be aware, be sure that this is what I want to do, and I think you'll be fine in the brave new world. I prefer to be an optimist. So thank you so much, Dr. Vincent. Ramanuj, thank you so much. Yusuf, thank you so much. And it's been really a enlightening session, and we wish you all the best. Stay safe, and we hope the next time we can all have a session in person. Thank you very much. Have a good day. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Yusuf.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Raman.
Thank you, Ramanuj.
Thank you, Yusuf.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Very nice.
Bye.
Very